Don Toliver has been a staple in the trap and hip hop scene with a total of 4 studio albums being released under his name. Each time he releases a new project, you can expect to hear some of the fan favorite styles that he's developed over his career. He always manages to stick to his distinct sound while still pushing the boundaries of modern trap music. My personal favorite style of his has always been that sort of warped, detuned, spacey melody with some like super hard hitting drums. So with that being said, I'm going to show you guys how I made this psychedelic trap beat for Don Toliver. All right, so we're over in the FLP, and like always, I'm gonna just show you guys how I did the loop first, and then I will get into the drum breakdown. So right off the rip, we're gonna be at 140 BPM. It's a pretty safe range to be in for these types of beats. You can go really anywhere from like 130 to 160. It doesn't really matter too much. Now, first things first, we started off with this MIDI from Vendor. So we got that MIDI loaded up into this dark terrestrial preset in Analog Lab. The most important thing for these loops is definitely the sound selection. You want to make sure that the stuff you're using really fits that sort of like warped kind of vintage vibe. So this is what we have for the first preset. So you can tell right off the rip that this preset just has a ton of like different movement and just nice textures to it. And then as far as processing goes, I just have this Fox Echo Chorus plugin on it. This is basically just like a delay and a little bit of a chorus. So for this next sound, I just took the same MIDI and I layered it with another Analog Lab preset. This one is going to be in the same bank, Shadows by Haze, and it's the Demons Lo-Fi synth. One thing to note about this MIDI too is that it's very dark to start with. You have a lot of notes that are close together, like these E and D sharp notes. That creates a lot of tension for your melody. So this is definitely a good thing to implement if you're trying to go for that style. The next thing I did was I laid down the bass pattern. And for these types of beats, I love to use like any kind of gritty sub bass. So this one that I picked, the History bass, I believe it's from a Bassed One kit, but it just sounded really nice. This is another good thing to do for your basses with these kind of melodies, is just to pitch notes up and down, and also just create like a little bit of spacing between notes can really add some nice tension. On that bass, I just have this Cobra Fuzz VST that's just basically adding some like distortion. Then this next sound, I lay down this pattern and I'm using a preset from the Prince plugin, and it's the preset Cool Stretch in the Plucks category. And I just laid down this really simple kind of like arpeggiating pluck pattern. It follows pretty much the same notes as the original MIDI. They're just all kind of spaced out. So this is really where you start to develop that sound of the like tape emulation. Where you get kind of like that wobbling sound. So I'm using this Rabbit Tape plugin, and I just turned up the flutter a little bit to give it that sort of warping tone. And then I have a halftime on it that has just the mix is down 30%, so it's introducing a little bit of the low end. And a really cool trick I learned while making this actually was if you play out your MIDI pattern and you mess with like a delay. I have this one on Valhalla Supermassive. But like while the MIDI is playing, I was messing with the actual delay, like timing. It created like a really cool sort of warping tone. So I ended up just like recording that in and kind of messing with this as it played. So we ended up with this. Really cool effect. I just kind of randomly figured out while making this, but definitely something you could implement into your own melodies. A lot of that sort of analog feel that you get with these loops comes from just kind of stuff like randomly playing off grid. And that effect really helped a lot create like a cool tone for this melody. Then the last thing I added was this mallet, and it's just a one shot, but I laid down this sort of like run pattern that just went up and down. And then I added some effects later, but originally this is what it sounded like. And on that, I just had an EQ and then the Fruity Delay 3, which is adding that delay. So then what I did is I took this MIDI and I just rendered it out and then time stretched it an extra 8 bars. So it's basically like halftime, but you're only keeping like 4 of the bars instead of all 8. So that's really it for this entire melody. I'll play it all together so you guys can hear what it sounds like. So moving over to the drums, we have quite a bit of samples playing, but I think they all kind of really work together well. So starting off, we're just got this simple 2-step hi-hat. Then I added a rim, which I noticed a lot of producers that he works with use rims instead of like snares and claps for these kind of beats. Then we got a perk sound. And then I added a triangle. Then we got a little accent open hat that kind of hits at the end of the 3 bars. Then we have just another open hat to hit on the 1. And then I added a accent snare to just kind of fill in some of the gaps. Then the last percussion I added was just another snare to kind of glue this end section together. So that was it for the percussion. Moving on to the 808, we're using a real kind of like punchy, distorted 808. And I just copied over these same root notes as the bass. And then the last thing I added was just a kick to kind of accent some of the notes. And I also added a couple kicks off the notes of the 808s just to add some extra rhythm. That sort of like offbeat kick kind of reminds me of some stuff that like Wonder Girl would do when she produces for stuff for Don Toliver. So that's it for this beat. Let me know if you guys liked it in the comments below. Let me know what other videos you want to see from me as far as like artists go, or just any other like talking points. I've been doing a lot of just like commentary type videos, and you guys seem to be liking those. So if you have stuff that you want me to talk about or go over, just let me know. But yeah, other than that, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.